Good evening, wherever you're at. Welcome to day 3 of the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle Lives promotional period. Super excited to be here with you again today, and I got another amazing interview for you. Right off the bat, I do want to let you know that both Reny, Happy Raw Reny that I'm inviting on, are a part of the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle. Both have books in there, 2 of 36 low-fat raw vegan materials, ranging from recipe books to meal plans to full-on mini courses, which we're going to go more into, going into emotional eating as well as yoga and so many other ways to improve your life. I'm going to pin the links for both of us here so you can support both Reny and myself through grabbing the bundle through the links. And without further ado, let's view request. Go live with the 10 a.m. here where I'm at. So, and you can get the bundle in Reny's link in her profile or in mine. Support her and or us. Thank you so much, Reny. How you doing? Good morning.
Good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'll admit I got to bed a little later than I planned, and I'm a little tired, but I'm feeling pretty good. Just fresh out of the shower, all prettied up for the live here today. How about yourself? I'm guessing you've been up for a little bit longer.
A little bit longer, but I bet you have so much more work to do because you are organizing this bundle, and I'm admiring you for that. And Lisa, this is I can't imagine how much work it is.
It is a lot of work, but I'll admit that is a gracious and kind kind way to say, I definitely could have better excuses for getting to bed too late, but yeah, it's been a lot of work. It's been awesome though, and it's so awesome to be together with everyone here, bringing the bundle to so many people. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Blessed that you're on here. Oh, Christina's in here too, and welcome everyone who's joining us for this live. Wherever you're at, let us know in the comments if you're somewhere where you're up late or if you're somewhere where you're up early. We'd be interested to know, and you can ask any questions. Today with Happy Raw Reny, we're going to be going into raw vegan blunders and raw vegan solutions, going into solutions to those common blunders that people can find themselves in. But before we do, I would love for you, Reny, just to share a little bit about yourself and your story, where you're at, kind of things that are really lighting you up, and then we'll dive into the fun topic.
Well, about 14 years ago, I think it was 14. I'm confused now. I stopped counting so accurately. I was feeling really sick because I was into the low carb diet. I was doing it actually low carb and low fat.
Oh,
so
great. That's hard to do. It's like no calorie diet.
Yeah, well, protein.
Yeah.
Sadly, from milk products, from dairy, which I didn't realize back then that it wasn't a kind way to eat.
Yeah.
It is a little bit confusing because it's not meat, but it's still dairy industry is not kind at all.
No, I agree.
Yeah, and I really felt super sick. Also using artificial sweeteners, and that also just put a huge hit on my kidneys and liver, and I had inflamed liver, inflamed kidneys, lung conditions, infections, like really bad, feeling really bad, and all super dry skin, and I did get thin. That was the only thing that didn't work, but everything else I just was falling apart, and I was only 30. I forgot now. 30. So I felt super sick, and doctor told me that I will have to take antibiotic for my infection. And I just decided to check if it's okay to take antibiotic, will it work? And I found that nope, for this condition that I had, these antibiotics usually don't work. They will give you another antibiotic and another, and it's just downward spiral.
Yeah.
Um, and I started looking for other solutions,
That
and
was
I
a wake up
found
moment, eh?
and yes, and I found John Coller's site.
Nice. Oh, John's
Yeah,
awesome.
Living Foods, and I'm so grateful. It was such an awesome start. I just went raw overnight to my best ability and knowledge back then, of course.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't know exactly how to do it. And I started feeling so much better right away.
Yeah.
It just was a humongous difference for me. I hear many stories, people going through detox. I didn't really experience it too much. I just started feeling better right away, and just gradually my health challenges started going away.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wonder if it was due to you being at such a low body weight already that you had released a lot, you know, even though you weren't eating the most ideal foods, and then nourishing yourself so well, you perked up. I had a similar experience because, it's similar but different, of course, but I was eating lots of animal products and stuff like that. And as soon as I got into healthier eating, it just streamlined everything. I guess I had a bit longer of a transition period though. But as soon as I got into raw food, I didn't have a severe detox. I think I did most of it in the previous years before that. But that's awesome. And since then, I know that you and your husband Jesse are an amazing, amazing team. And you got a new addition to your team, little raw baby, and
Yeah.
raising a family. And together, you've brought together a course into the bundle as well. So, do you want to share a little bit about your course that's in the bundle?
Yeah, it's raw vegan solutions,
Yep.
and we looked into 7 most common challenges that people were sharing with us.
Yeah.
Um, some of them are challenges, some of them are more like fears.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just discussed it in 7 lessons.
Yeah.
So diving kind of deep into it.
Yeah.
um, so to just find, so people can solve these issues and can continue with raw vegan lifestyle, because sadly so many people, they just bump into these challenges,
Mhm.
um, and they decide that raw vegan lifestyle doesn't work for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
um,
it's it's really sad to see because, today we have so much information and, it's just so accessible, but that doesn't mean that it's all good information. And unfortunately, people can run into problems if they don't know what they're doing. And that's why education is so paramount and so important. And, something that I think is just also important is learning from people that are doing it and have been doing it long term. And I know between yourself and Jesse, you have what, like around 30, 35 years of raw food experience?
yes,
Yeah,
around
so
35 or 36, something like that.
36. Yeah, yeah. The numbers almost don't start to count, but or don't start to be important to us, but to many, many people they are. I mean, the difference between 30 and 36 years, it's a long time just between two people. And, I feel blessed to have known you both for a really long time and that you're thriving and helping so many people. And I think this course is going to help a lot of people. Do you want to share some of the issues? Not don't have to go into every single one, but
Yes.
just some common problems that you have seen that are sad that people really run into.
Yeah, I can. I would say the mistakes, like you
Yes.
said, blunders. I don't know
Yes,
if I.
blunders. Absolutely. Yeah, blunders is kind of like, yeah, like a yeah, mistake or like a troubling scenario.
Yes. So I would say that the first thing that I see is usually eating unripe fruit.
Yeah.
This is just a huge one, and people eat unripe fruit, especially things like bananas, and they say, "I don't like bananas." Oh, well, yeah. I don't like unripe bananas either.
No, me neither. It always kind of scares me when people say they do, like, but that's a whole different scenario. And yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like it is really a common thing among people that don't really look at fruit as meals, that also that eat high animal product based diets, just like grabbing one green banana or like just a really hard piece of fruit and feeling like they have to eat their health food, but not really understanding that that's not really helping them as much as it could.
Yes, yes. Yeah, because the most fruit in supermarkets is unripe, and people think that that's how fruit's supposed to be,
Yeah.
like hard apples, because this is much easier to sell, and of course, there's harder bananas. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, or maybe bananas are going bad, and then they think like, oh, okay, this is dirty banana now, and this is supposed to be good, but sometimes it's still, the quality can be so low sometimes, or if they don't store it properly, it's not ripening properly, it can taste not so good.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's such a sad thing when you buy a bunch and they aren't too good, you know, but somebody's asking, how can we tell when a banana is ripe enough?
My favorite way is to take a banana by the stem. I can't guarantee that it works 100%, but
Yeah.
you take a banana by the stem and you raise it like this. You can take a whole batch and raise it like, so bananas are looking up like this. I wish I would. Yeah, we actually have only not fully ripe ones at the moment. We just ate all the ripe ones. We were a little
Oh,
bit behind again, but we have
yeah.
some in the freezer.
Yeah.
This it's a very good. So okay, so you take bananas like this, and they should fall off the stem.
Yeah.
In my experience, it's, what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, no, that sounds great to me. Yeah, to me, it's like when they're soft enough that you don't feel like you could just put them in a bag and they may not get bruised or the same kind of thing. Like it's easy to peel. Like you just touch it and it's like boop. And especially for smoothies, like what I find is for smoothies, I like them softer and sweeter. And if I'm really going to eat them out of my hand, I might like them a little bit firmer, but at least generally speaking, well spotted. Like
Yeah.
yellow, a nice
Oh,
yellow with lots of brown or black spots.
yes, yes. And I think the bottom line, because sometimes some people say, well, they might not develop spots
Yeah.
if you're maybe in tropics or something like that. But the bottom line is that it's so
Yeah.
sweet and kind of almost is so soft and creamy,
Yeah.
not like.
Yeah, if it's crunchy or when you're going to peel it, it sounds like a zipper. Or, when you eat it, it like coats your whole mouth with kind of like a weird kind of like, yeah, that's a bunch of starch. You don't need that starch from the banana.
Starch, yeah, exactly. Starch didn't convert to sugars, and yeah. And that, of course, takes me to the next one, sugar. People are afraid of sugar and afraid of
Yeah.
eating enough fruit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
People don't know how sweet life is, right? They think it's got to be more bitter and salty all the time. And I mean, yeah, those flavors have their place, right? But I think life is pretty sweet. Would you agree?
absolutely.
Yeah. How about
Oh,
Lily? What does she think?
oh, she loves sweet, yeah. And
Yeah.
she would not eat fruit if it's not fully ripe.
Yeah.
She gets excited, she tries it,
Yeah.
and then she wouldn't eat it. But she
Kids are smart.
loves sweet. Yeah, she loves sweet, fully ripe fruit, like
Yeah.
anything. And tomato, she was attacking some tomatoes here another day.
Yeah.
Even tomato, she's already eating, and avocado, she loves when it's
Yeah.
fully ripe. She loves it.
Well, it's hard to blame her. I mean, I think both of those kind of epitomize all the different kind of flavors and textures between like sweet fruit and avocados and tomatoes. It's like you got a pretty wide spectrum there. And I know you guys are all about quality. Speaking of quality and what's available, what is really good quality and awesome where you're at right now?
Well, it's the most challenging time of the year, the
Hmm.
springtime here. It's very challenging to find something, but we're ordering from organic store online, and pears, I would say, are probably the best quality. Before that, we had persimmons, and when Lily was 6 months of age, that's when they recommend to start introducing solid foods. We took her to the persimmon tree, to our persimmon tree,
Yeah.
and we thought she'll kind of pick, or maybe she will just like touch this persimmon and we will film it. she grabbed it, ripped it off, and ripped it. It went everywhere and shot it in her mouth. It was such a mess. We were really naive, thinking how it's gonna be. So this was just. It's still her favorite is persimmons, but we don't get them anymore. She loves pears,
Yeah.
especially this conference variety. These are sweet. They don't have so much sourness. If something is sour, she doesn't like it.
I'm kind of like her. You know, I've mentioned to a few people for many, many years, probably like the first 10 years that I was doing raw food, I barely used lemons and limes in my cuisine. Like, and then, and I just preferred sweet. And then after some time, I, you know, use some lemons and limes, and of course use them in some recipes that really require it, you know, that have that special, but those sweet flavors, they are, I think, what we're really naturally drawn to. And most people, when you have the sour, it's like, right. But again, everything has its place in certain recipes and stuff like that. And, you know, it goes a little deeper. So Janico's saying, vegan cruise was one of the best experiences of my life. That so awesome. So if people don't know, Jenny and not Jenny, sorry, Reny and Jesse, I combined you two together. Were the creators of the first ever raw vegan cruises out in Croatia, and I was very, very blessed to be a part of the first one out there, which was so much fun. That was really great. Yeah, where you guys were at is beautiful.
Fun with you.
That was lots of fun. That was really lots of fun.
Yeah,
you know, one of my favorite experiences too, and speaking of sweet fruit and ripe fruit, was climbing mulberry trees in Split and in your area too, and it was so good. People haven't had fresh mulberries. They're one of the most amazing, definitely the sweetest of berries I think ever. You know, they're like just like candy.
And they're black, so they're full of antioxidants and flavor and mineral. Oh, they're just such a perfect food.
Yeah, there's just something magic about being in fruit trees and like hearing about Lily go crazy for the persimmon. It makes sense, and I think that is kind of playing to what we're talking about with the importance of ripe fruit. You know, like if you're eating fruit and you're not like wanting to dance and wanting to mash it in your face and wanting to kind of like move and like be like like if it's not lighting you up, either it's just not your favorite variety, or more than likely it's just not really ripe and high quality, you know, because that's something I've always seen. And would you say the same? Like whenever anyone says, oh, I don't really like this type of fruit, it usually ends up that it was underripe or that it just was really poor quality and just, you know, either grown on bad soil or just like something weird about it, not very good quality. Yeah, fruit is magic. Fruit is magic. So what are a couple other kind of major blunders you've seen people face? And it doesn't even necessarily have to be from the book. I know you covered the 7 biggest ones. But what are some common ones too?
Troubles that people feel like they bump into.
Yeah.
So yeah, here I will just kind of talk about more of the mistakes that they make, because in the course I wanted to concentrate on things that people are worried about. You know, I know that they're worried about, but the reasons why they get these challenges are these mistakes, like you said, blunders. So yeah, this unripe fruit is one. Also unripe like tomatoes and bell peppers also. People don't think about these as fruit, but if they're unripe, they can also be like hurting actually. Even sensitive tummies, for example, if they're too sour. Or bell peppers, it's funny how they sell green bell peppers. And people think that it's a variety. I used to think that too. And it's not a variety. If you put it on a countertop for a week, you will see how it starts turning orange.
I don't really enjoy green bell peppers. I know it's like my mom does and stuff, but I always like the really ripe ones, you know, that are sweeter and just feel better in the belly.
Yes. And purple bell peppers too. And another mistake is like you said already, the not eating enough fruit and not eating enough greens. Also, I know some people think that we don't need greens, but maybe in some super duper tropical conditions with amazing fruit that has tons of minerals in there, maybe it's possible, but not in our modern world with supermarket fruit, for sure not.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I mean, that kind of goes right back to the fear of fruit, right? And people being worried about the sugar amount, or any of that, or worried about protein or something like that, and just not thinking that fruit is ideal, or not eating ideal fruit, and leading them to just not eat enough.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty sad how in some places it can be challenging to get enough ripe fruit. I don't know, probably in most places in these bigger cities it's not so hard, but in some small places it can be a challenge. So we need to start getting creative, getting like lots of bananas, and kind of be okay with eating just large quantities of bananas. If some of my friends probably saw, we had like 3 boxes of bananas. We actually had more. Same time, and Lily was there in front of them. She's always so excited to see lots of bananas. She wants to go and grab them and play with them. So just be okay with it, not to have super duper like interesting fruit, but of course you can get a little bit. Maybe you're lucky to get some mango here and there or something, but the staple, definitely bananas in most places, or whatever other staple you have. Maybe you have like tons of pears. We're trying to buy lots of pears now because they're pretty good. So to just have some staples and be okay with it, that you're eating mostly this 1 or 2 types of fruit, and just add as many other ones like here and there as possible. And what to do, to make it more like feel more like a variety and make it tastier and more satisfying, is to add different greens, which you can grow yourself also at home. In the bundle there's awesome program by Nate. And they're teaching how to grow your sprouts and microgreens. It's so beautiful. And right now in the springtime you can go out and get some wild greens too.
Absolutely. Or do you have some stuff that you forage a lot? And I do want to say too that book by Nate looks amazing. Actually, it's a whole course on growing your own, basically your own microgreen or kraut kind of kitchen, and like having so much stuff in there, so you can, no matter where you are, you can have an abundance of really high quality greens and microgreens and sprouts. So that's pretty awesome. So with wild edibles, that's an awesome subject too, and a great way to get in more quality for lower prices and free, really in many cases. So what are some of your favorites?
Dandelions, definitely. We don't have them here. We had them planted, and sadly our patch died out when we were away in Estonia. We went to Estonia to give birth to Lily, and neighbors were watching the place, but they didn't
watch the dandelions.
Didn't watch the dandelions.
It's funny, most people are trying to get rid of dandelions, and you guys are fighting to keep them.
Yeah, because there are no dandelions here in this area. But we have something similar, salt thistle, and I think it's all over Europe and probably the North America too. It's very delicious. I like it. I mean, of course, if you just eat it like this, it's quite bitter. But when you blend it with bananas or other sweet fruits, I love it with oranges, for example, too. And it's such a nice. It gives such a nice balance to the sweet flavor. It's like chocolatey kind of flavor.
Yeah, I love strong greens in measure, right? Like sometimes I like them mixed with other salads. Sometimes I do just like a couple bites here and there. And other times I like them, with a banana smoothie or other kind of smoothies, like arugula. It's a pretty sharp green. It's a common one, and You know, I usually don't make full salads of it unless it's really young and tender and like a little mild, because
Yeah.
sometimes it can be really strong, right?
Yes.
But wow, when I tried a arugula banana smoothie, I was inspired by Fruity Lou Coke. I was blown away. I didn't think it was going to be a tasty combo, but that like hint of bitterness and kind of strong flavor, spicy. I actually call it spicy banana. It's really good having
Yeah,
those
I
kind of
love it.
so good. Hey,
By the way, it's one of the Lily's favorites.
is it?
Yeah, she loves green smoothies.
Yeah,
Sometimes it depends how it comes out. If
yeah,
if if it's too strong or somehow something with it not too good, she might not like it. It probably depends on how hungry she is also. But somehow we were lucky with this arugula,
yeah.
a little bit of arugula in banana, and she loves that. She loves this.
Lucky girl, getting her palate early on, right? I think that's a big thing too with getting used to different greens and stuff like that. Is sometimes it takes introducing them one or two times, and having them with the sweet fruits and stuff like that to really balance them out, and then your body starts to sing when you have them when you get used to it.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised how much she enjoys it.
Yeah.
Maybe also she's very proud of eating this because she sees daddy, Jesse, I mean, chugging down this huge, cups of green smoothie. And her favorite thing is to drink also from a big cup.
Yeah. Oh,
So
stuff to
she
be like,
feels,
yeah.
so she feels like she's a grown up.
That's way too cute. I'm the exact same way. I like to have like, if it's not like at least a liter, it doesn't feel like it's a big enough cup, and usually it's just the blender container itself.
Yeah. Oh, she actually, um, one time she was maybe not so hungry, or I don't know, like not so good appetite, and I'm like, oh no, eat a little bit, and I'm like trying to offer her from this cup and that cup, and then I took her on my arms and came to the counter, kitchen counter,
Mm.
and all of a sudden she grabs this whole container from the blender.
Oh wow.
She's trying to grab it, and I gave her, and she was drinking from that.
Yeah. It's probably right now that's like weightlifting for her, hey?
Oh yeah. Oh, of course, I was helping her,
Yeah.
but
I was thinking she's gonna get strong and tough by just continually trying to pick up that until that's like very normal.
yes, yes, yeah. So definitely, eating enough. This is
Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
and some people even complain about constipation on a raw vegan lifestyle. I'm like, how can it be?
Yeah.
But one of the reasons could be not eating enough,
Hmm.
um, uh, or eating unripe bananas because they might be constipating, the
Yeah.
unripe bananas,
Yeah.
and also hydration.
Huge. Yeah.
People are not hydrating. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah. Yeah. It is wild. Some people perpetuate the notion that if you just eat fruits and vegetables, you don't need to drink water at all. And
Yeah.
or don't need to eat greens. Two things that I know both of us are very important. Making sure that you're hydrated with water as well as fruits and vegetables, and getting in lots of greens.
Yes. Um, um, and hydration also, that's an interesting topic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, some of our friends, clients, um, say that they drink a lot of water and they still don't get hydrated. Somehow they still feel dehydrated. And I'm not sure. I feel that I love to drink lots of water, but I feel when I drink juice, especially green juice,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe with cucumber and celery, that somehow it hydrates me better,
Mm-hmm.
like on a deeper level. What do you feel?
Yeah, no, I think that would make sense because the balance of the sodium, if you're just eating tons and tons of fruit, which is going to be higher in potassium, and you don't have the balance with the sodium by eating enough greens and the green juices, which have it really in there,
Yeah.
then I think you're not going to be having as high levels of hydration in the cell anyway, right? Like,
Yes.
so I think that makes a big difference. And something that was really cool that I learned was that the body requires a certain amount of water to process sugar. I believe it's every gram of sugar, your body needs 7 grams of water. So if you're drinking watermelon juice all day and orange juice all day, yeah, it's not as dehydrating as, say, eating crumpets and bread, but it's not as hydrating as a more balanced sweet to salty kind of ratio with the green juices or even just water itself, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So yes, this balance of minerals that plays a huge role.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like they call that sodium potassium pump, like in
yeah,
our cells, that it needs to work properly. So the balance of sodium and potassium inside the cell and outside in the blood is
yeah.
proper.
And
And also, like you said, breadcrumbs. That reminded me of another issue that people love to eat dehydrated
yeah,
raw foods, which is nothing wrong with it. I think it's can be very helpful for transitioning and also to satisfy yourself if there's not enough stuff. Um, um, and especially like you like partially dehydrated
yeah, yeah. I
veggies and
love stuff just a
things.
little dehydrated.
Yes, but if we eat a lot of these and not balancing it out with hydration, then it can lead to dehydration also, and
Absolutely.
many issues besides constipation, all kinds of issues. Dehydration is proper hydration is like a basis of proper functioning of the whole body.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. Blink of Fanny, sorry if I'm pronouncing that bad, saying,
Thanks,
what
Robin.
makes raw vegans gain weight? So I don't know if you're asking, why would raw vegans be overweight or how to gain healthy weight on a raw vegan diet. Do you want to answer either of those? And then they can
Yeah,
let
this
us
is
know.
actually the second lesson of our course is about gaining healthy weight,
Yeah.
because this is a huge one that people face, that losing too much weight on
Hmm.
the raw vegan lifestyle. And you can let us know if you're asking otherwise, because yes, it's possible to gain too much fat on the raw vegan lifestyle when you eat too much fat.
Yeah.
Simplest thing. Or
Yeah.
just overall calories, maybe too many dates,
Yeah.
right? Like too many dehydrated fruits, or too much fat.
Yeah.
But usually it's the problem is the opposite. People lose too much weight, and especially they're afraid of losing muscle. It's interesting how, especially guys, they um, come from standard eating, standard diet, and they say, "Oh, I'm losing my arm
Yeah.
muscles," but very often these muscles they're like marbled with fat actually,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that fat might be going away on the raw vegan lifestyle, of course. And then they say, "Oh, I lose my arm," you know.
They never had as much as they thought in the beginning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's not so easy to lose muscle. You have
Yeah.
to be really under eating. You
Yeah.
can just look at Chris, how
Yeah.
much
I
how
got,
much
I got,
you
I got, I
build.
got a little bit of muscle anyway. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like after how many years you've been already? Is 17, 18? I forgot.
I just hit 18 and I've definitely
Eight.
seen just like you said, yeah, and like Blinka Fanny is saying, seen some raw vegans very thin, then later they gain fat. It is pretty common in the first few years that people tend to bottom out as they're learning to eat enough calories. They really start to understand how important it is to eat enough calories and how important it is to get enough greens and dense mineralization, which also carries a little bit higher levels of protein and essential fats and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, eating enough calories and doing some kind of challenging activity, like if you want to put on muscle, but you're just running long distances, you're not going to get bigger. You're going to get more streamlined and thin. But
Yes.
a lot of people don't want to do those kind of movements and those harder movements, like the more strenuous, heavy kind of lifting. But that's really
Yes.
how you put on mass, more
Yeah.
easily lean body mass. It's pretty easy to put on mass if you're just eating processed foods and animal foods that are super high in calories and hormones and all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
Yes. Um, yeah, I was gonna say something. Yeah, definitely. I forgot.
It's all good. That happens sometimes. That happens sometimes.
Yeah,
If anyone has any other questions that they'd like to ask us, just maybe some blunders that they've seen or any kind of comments around this topic, because I know both Reny and I just think it's really important to make this lifestyle as easy and fun and tasty as humanly possible. And that's why
yeah,
we're coming together with everyone who's a part of the bundle and why you guys put out that course, because it is just so sad to see when people have poor information and end up just not thriving in the way that we know that you can.
yeah.
So,
Many
so
people complain about getting gas in the beginning, especially of the raw vegan lifestyle, bloating and gas.
yeah,
And some people might experience that for years. We've met raw vegans who
yeah.
just keep on complaining
Keep on
about
tooting.
it. Yeah. Oh, definitely. In the beginning, it's quite kind of common, because especially if you eat cooked food and then on the top of cooked food you or heavier, some kind of heavier meals, maybe nuts and seeds, and then on the top of that you eat some light, juicy fruit. It might cause some gas and bloating. It's quite normal. It's just because of the fermentation of fruit that's kind of going through your system. It needs to go through system a little bit faster, and then if you have all these heavy foods there, it might slow it down, and fruit just starts fermenting. What is your experience with this, Chris?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel the same way. That, in the beginning, when people are not used to all the different types of fibers and not used to the volume, they are a little fermentation factory, especially if they're not food combining or being mindful of the sequence of certain foods and, favoring the faster digesting foods first, whether that's in the day or even in the meal, that usually helps a lot. And a lot of people don't really chew really well, right? And they may
Yes,
see someone like they might see someone like you or me eating large portions of fruits and greens and then just try and emulate that really quick, and their system isn't quite ready for it. But slow and steady is a good approach with that, and just increasing the amounts of raw foods in your diet. So
yeah.
we're getting a great question from. Do you see the question?
Yes, yeah. I saw the question about cooking for family and staying raw.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, what do you think about that? I have my own take on it, and I think there's many very various ways to look at it and attack that. But what would you say,
Yes. Well,
Araceli?
I
You
would
there?
say like eat a lot, and before yourself, eat enough of raw food before
Yeah.
you start cooking, and just cook. You can, I don't know, taste and spit maybe if you're really trying to avoid that cooked food, but
Mhm.
um, it's possible to do. The main thing is um, to eat enough to
Yeah.
be really full, and to have enough of your raw food around. And I would say Zuzana is amazing example of cooking to her whole family, and she's a raw vegan. Zuzana is also in a bundle,
Mhm.
and her beautiful new book is in there about
Really good.
falling in love with low fat
Yeah.
raw vegan diet. Yeah, it's really good.
I think that's great. I think that's probably the number one thing is just making sure that you have enough and you're enjoying your food. And I think that's a great tip too before you start making food for others. Have a smoothie or have something so you feel satisfied. I think that's a really good tip. And something I'd add to that too. I mean, obviously in some circumstances you may have to, right? Like if it's ones that are dependent upon you and they can't make their own food. But I do think it is also important to note that have to is kind of a chancy thing. And in a lot of cases, I've met some people who they just made the deliberation and the decision that, they're responsible for the raw food and they share like, I'll make extra smoothie, I'll make some salads, I'll make this portion. But if you want X, Y, or Z, if it's their significant other, that it'd be really beneficial for you for them to consider to make some of that themselves and to learn how to satisfy their own, food needs, and it can bring in some, vulnerable communication and a chance to really get deeper with, how you feel, and if they want to support you, how can they do that, and how can you support them, and, find that common ground, because I know some people, for example, who they will not have any animal products in the kitchen at all, and other couples that do, or they have separate kind of, separate kind of cooking things, and other people who only allow cooked food to be brought in rather than made in the house, and certain couples who they completely make their own food, right? And I think finding that balance and being open to having that communication is really awesome. And yeah, sharing a lot of tasty raw food recipes too. You don't always have to make a big deal of it and say like raw dinner, but you just make some extra stuff and include that in what's being made, and that makes it easier for you too.
Yes, that's a great one. There's also a great course, I think it's a course or a book on relationships.
Yes.
Healing relationships in the bundle.
Yeah.
So if you have these challenges, I would really recommend to look into this one.
Yeah, that's one awesome thing about the bundle too, is, not only does it have amazing recipes, which could help with that situation, because if you're serving up really tasty stuff that either is simple and is very clear as raw, or is a little bit more fancy and you couldn't tell if it was raw or not, because there's a lot of stuff like that in the bundle. But then on top of that, there's the courses such as yours that really help with information and key insights that can make the lifestyle a lot easier. But then also the movement, like the yoga, and also just like the information that people need to get through these trying times.
Yes, yes. And another topic also that we're looking into in our course is people feeling lonely, because this is what we're getting a lot from our clients, feeling too lonely on this lifestyle. And of course, one of the things that we recommend is to organize potlucks.
Yeah.
And in the bundle, there's this beautiful book.
Oh, the potluck book.
Yeah, the potluck book that we made all together, right?
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yes, it can be very helpful for some ideas for potlucks, because this is definitely helpful to organize something yourself. But also, I don't think we have to communicate only with raw vegans, and we're talking about that in our course, how to be friends with other people. You can talk about other topics. You don't have to talk with everybody about what you eat.
Yeah, I think that's really common when people get into something that completely changes their life, and raw food definitely comes into that. It's like a inner transformation that causes you to see the world around you in a different way. And when you've met with something that's so profound that it changes your inner and outer world, you can kind of get like myopic, like you start to just like have blinders, and that's all you want to talk about, that's all you see. And sometimes that can rub some people the wrong way, and also it can lead you to not wanting to be around other people for a period of time. But I think you just make such a good point. It's like that's just one aspect of life, right? Like there's so many things to connect on, and so many people, and how are we going to spread this beautiful message if we're only talking with just raw foodies, right? Like it's
yeah, and that's another one also. It's beautiful to spread this message when people are interested, and at the same time, it's so important not to push it on your friends, because you'll scare everybody away. Because if you just say that, oh, it's not good to eat animals, they're like living creatures, most people will feel attacked.
Yeah.
Even though it's obvious, it's obvious that, oh, that is a dead body that you're eating. But if you say that, they will be very
put up walls immediately.
Yes.
No, it's a tricky one. It's common to want to get onto a raw food soapbox or a vegan soapbox and point the finger at a lot of people, right? And I mean, there's many different ways of connecting with people, and I really believe that everything has its time and place. I know some people that are like shaken and then they wake up, but a lot of people need their hand held or need a bit more of a compassionate approach and connection.
Definitely. And the best way I feel is to just be a shining example.
Yeah.
And they will look, and maybe in a year they will go like, wow, you're even younger than a year earlier. You look even younger and more energetic. What's happening? And then,
Most people wouldn't think that we're in our 40s, you know, and I think raw food helps a lot with that for sure. I mean, most people I've seen tend to look 5 to 10 years younger than they are, you know.
yeah. Uh, listen, people have problems even when.
It's a good question,
That can.
Astrali. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, some people um, say, well, it's natural to feel better, I think, on raw food. It's just so, make you feel so alive. It's more hydrating, and people might feel better on raw food. At the same time, I feel we just had this conversation with one of our clients that she was super fearful about eating cooked food, and it's beautiful that she was eating raw food for a while, but this mindset, if you're super fearful of cooked food, that's just like constantly living in this fear. So basically, if she's craving cooked food or raw food, for some reason doesn't work for her, and then she's just feeling like she's in prison of raw food, that she has to eat raw food, otherwise she will get sick. This is very wrong approach. I think you need to then reset somehow and start over. And because the reason we eat raw food is because we're in love with it. It just makes us feel so good. We could eat cooked food at any moment. Like, I don't restrict myself from it. I just don't need it. I just don't crave it because raw food is what I love so much.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a huge paradigm shift that can lead to someone going from just trying to survive on a raw food diet to really truly thriving. And the difference between feeling like you have to do something and, you know, operating from a place of fear as a motivator to like genuinely really wanting to, and coming from a place of love and, you know, just joy from what you're receiving and what you're feeling and what you're experiencing is so different, right? That's just, it's so different, and it's not going to happen overnight, but being aware of it, you know, that's, I think that's at least the first step, you know?
Yes, and many people, I feel, underestimate the power of our mind and mindset, because it's so real. It has a real effect on our bodies. Biochemistry, the whole biochemistry will change if you're happy and grateful versus if you're negative and complaining and fearful.
No, I've experienced that firsthand. I've seen it in my coaching practice firsthand. You know, people in the exact same dietary, you know, like lifestyle kind of thing, but just that mindset shift can lead to kind of doom and gloom and dark and kind of down and crunched, or like rainbows and butterflies, like really really high and like feeling good, you know, and a natural high, not a chemical based one. But
Yeah,
I think that's, go ahead.
yeah, and even on the physical level, did you notice that the health was also different? That
Oh
one is
yeah.
health.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, to Astrali's question here, definitely I've seen people and coached people who, you know, while their health is going to be better on a balanced cooked diet, some people who just found that they can't get rid of certain symptoms or feel anywhere near as good on a cooked based diet or even a high raw diet. They find that certain skin issues or digestive issues or energy issues or even just like overall sense of happiness in their life isn't near or isn't, it pales in comparison to when they're actually on a balanced, well planned out, all raw food diet. And I think that's what a lot of people find keeps them with raw food. And it's not necessarily that they're like, I just want raw food diet. It's that eating that way feels so good that
Yeah.
it doesn't really, the other stuff just doesn't really feel like it's a desire or a want anymore, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes bumping into that a few times and then bumping this way a few times to really get that contrast, to know what feels best and to have the perspective shifts, you know, that we're talking about. But I've definitely
Yeah,
seen that. And I've seen other people who feel really great with high raw food. I think that's great. You know, the more lightly cooked and raw foods in your lifestyle, the better you're going to feel. But for some
yeah.
conditions, some people just find that they really need that extra bit. And just for
Mhm.
some people, it just is vastly preferred. I mean, that's what I see most of the time.
Yes. And it's very different from being fearful of
Yes.
eating food. It's just you feel your best.
Mhm.
You experimented maybe eating a little bit of cooked, I don't feel as good, and you just choose to eat this way. It's not
Yeah.
like you can't eat that cooked food, it's just you choose to eat raw because it makes you feel better and your symptoms go away.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely how I feel. I mean, in 18 years I've had little bits of cooked food here and there, and at one point thought like, oh, like I'd like to have some. I was in a relationship where they wanted me to have some, but I never could feel the same way I do when I stay all raw. And so it's just led me to like really embrace it and feel blessed by it, because it's amazing how good you can feel. And I think that's why everyone is so excited and wants to get on soapboxes sometimes, because they have felt the changes in themselves. They've
Yeah.
seen them with other people. And whether it's just like feeling better or overcoming like a skin issue or a digestive issue, there's also, we've all seen people like overcome cancers or diabetes or conditions that are commonly thought of as irreversible, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's just amazing the power of the body when we give it the foods and the hydration and the perspectives that it really requires to thrive.
Yes, the infection that I had, it's considered like also that you can't get rid of it.
Mhm.
Basically, even with antibiotics they just give you to kind of suppress it, and it usually just comes back. And definitely without antibiotics, they say you can't. But even with after I was reading about it, basically, like yeah, you can't just get rid of that. Is always there.
Mhm.
And I tested like for several years already. I'm testing every year, every now and then, and it's not coming back, and it went away without antibiotics by itself.
That's awesome.
So
That's super
these
awesome.
things are possible when you give your body a chance to really build up that immune system and to fight it off naturally by
Yeah,
itself.
absolutely. Yeah, it is just so amazing how our natural state is balanced, right? And in so many cases, it's just that we're not really providing our body with the fuel, or using such dense fuels and foods that the body's always overburdened with what you're just consuming right now, and doesn't have that extra energy and vitality to go into the past and to really find that balance, you know, to like get rid of old stuff and just come from a place of actually being balanced now, right? So
Yeah,
that's
yes.
really awesome to hear. That's
Um,
awesome to hear.
and some other topic we've been actually discussing and thinking about it with you is people afraid of deficiencies
Yeah,
on a raw lifestyle, and
yeah,
some people are running into deficiencies.
yeah,
And like you said, and I agree with you, the top reason is under eating,
yeah, for
or
sure.
just skipping greens and vegetables.
Yeah,
For example, like iron deficiency, people might run into
yeah.
uh, just not eating enough greens, not eating enough overall. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, and of course things like B12 and D vitamin. I think people need to take it seriously, because if you're low in B12
Mm-hmm.
and you can't replenish it, uh, you might hope that you eat maybe from the garden
Garden. Yeah.
and replenish it this way. But if you're, I mean, I would test it. If you're trying to do that, you gotta test, because if
Yeah.
you run too low, there could be, I don't know if it's really irreversible, but it's considered. They say that you can run into irreversible nerve damage
Yeah.
if you're
I've met
going
people.
too low.
I've met people who stuck to what they felt was, you know, like a hygiene approach, a natural hygiene approach with like zero supplementation, and they felt adverse to it. And even though they started getting major symptoms of B12 deficiency, because they were holding on to that and thinking that no, you know, that's wrong. I'll just get it the natural way. and they had numbness in their fingers, and they started losing their balance and just having very strong symptoms, numbness and tingling and balance issues. And they kept on going and kept on going, just thinking, oh, I'll correct it myself. I'll correct it myself. And they said even years later, when they started supplementing, they saw improvements, but some of those issues never went away. And I was talking to them years after that happened. And I mean, I can say for myself, my first decade on a raw food diet, I didn't supplement one thing, like not one supplement at all. And then I started getting some symptoms of B12 deficiency, and I did test. And so I was doing tests every year, and I saw the level slowly go down to the point where I was like, all right, this isn't self-correcting. I'm going to start supplementing. And I saw those symptoms go away. I never got to a point where it was severe deficiency or major symptoms, but there were some symptoms. And I think the science is pretty clear that the vast majority of people on most diets would really benefit from B12 supplementation, and vitamin D is pretty common too, especially if you live far away from the equator, unless you have like a sun lamp, a good quality sun lamp, and or eat a lot of mushrooms that are charged up with vitamin D. But yeah, I think you're so right. And it is a big thing that is popular these days, I think, is a kind of a more of a fruitarian approach, or lots of fasting, kind of like a really detox oriented approach, which, like someone was mentioning earlier, you see people that are really, really thin, and that are afraid of greens and think they slow down detox and stuff like that. And when you're taking that approach where you're like trying to take less, and you're trying to like detox and get as skinny as possible, I think that's definitely more a case where you actually could lead yourself into some deficiency problems, especially if you're starting from a malnourished state. I think a lot of people don't realize, if you're coming from a malnourished state, you may be overweight, but you could be malnourished. And then if you're not flooding your body with loads of nutrients, it could lead you into troubles too, right? And yeah, I think that's why we both really preach and share abundance, right? Like abundance of fruit and abundance of greens, and lots of variety when you can get it, right?
Yeah. We even seen blood works with low sodium. People have low sodium also when they're really afraid of foods overall, and greens and veggies. I really don't know. I mean, I think they're just like really under eating to get to this stage, like pretty serious
Absolutely.
sodium
Well,
deficiency.
I think with sodium, it's an interesting one because, especially if you're not consuming greens, or you're not consuming something like tomatoes, or even coconuts, that, all of those are more rich in sodium, then you have a higher chance of definitely being low. The other side of that, though, I think, is that the daily values for sodium have slowly crept up over the years. So like the general RDAs are set a little bit high because, it's assuming that most people are taking in a lot of processed foods that are, loaded with sodium. And so I think the window is, I think it's a little high for what is optimal. That's just my observation and what I've seen with people.
For blood work?
Yeah, for blood work. Yeah, I think they are a little bit high. So I mean, I think we can do well slightly below that or on the very low end, but
pretty seriously much lower.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was really, but the person was pretty sick, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, I think one thing that's really important to say is none of this is medical advice, and don't take anything we say, as 100%. But just I think one other thing with sodium that's important too is like if we are used to eating salt or high sodium foods and then we go without salt for a period of time, we can get dangerously low, and it can create negative symptoms because our body gets used to what we're doing most of the time. So if we're habitually having sodium, and our body gets used to throwing off more, when you have sweat, it's like sweaty and really salty. And then if all of a sudden you're like, oh, raw food, no salt, I shouldn't eat salt, it's bad. And then you're out in the sun and you're sweating and all that stuff, your body can actually throw off more than is healthful because it's used to that. And it actually takes about 2 or 3 months for your body to get used to sodium sparing and excreting less than is healthful. But I would 100% agree with you. I mean, you can get too little sodium, and it's really important to make sure you're getting a lot of greens and other high sodium foods in. at certain times to bring balance to that.
I'm curious, do you use any like condiments with sodium, like people use like coconut aminos or things like that, or you don't use any sodium at all, only from fruits and veggies?
I've had periods of time over a year or over 2 or 3 years actually. I think at the highest where probably about 3 years is the longest where I had like zero sodium at all. Like and then I've had periods of time where I've had let some sun-dried tomatoes that have some in it slip because that was all I could buy. Or I go to a raw food restaurant and they have from coconut aminos to sea salt in it. And it's funny because I've been in stages where I've been to restaurants and I've, been the person who's asked, like, is there salt in this? Is there this and this? And then not ordered anything that had it. But then I've also been in the scenario where it's just like, I'm at a restaurant, I'm going to enjoy it, right? And just have whatever it is and then deal with the consequences. Yeah, stuff like the coconut aminos, I've had, I think, 2 bottles in the last couple of years, but it's not something that's a normal thing in my life. More to explore and try different things in raw cuisine. But recently, actually, I guess, maybe the last 6 years, the highest sodium thing that I've added in is something called barley grass juice powder, which is a dried green juice, which is rich in sodium. So that's a sodium source that I take in. And more, sorry?
Salty. I was wondering, did they add salt in there? It's like salty flavor.
No, it's just organic sodium from the grass itself. Yeah, definitely no added salt in there. It's just naturally a salty taste. Another one that I've recently added, but it wasn't necessarily from a perceived need, it was more a curiosity, is a product called green salt. And that's a brand new one where it's actually a plant that is naturally rich in sodium that grows in salty soil. So they actually water it with sea salt. And then, sorry?
We have it growing here on the seaside in Croatia.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing. So it's just a company that saw this as a really cool way to, help people out that are on low sodium diets to give a more natural source. And so it's just a plant that is naturally high in sodium that they dry and powder, and it really tastes like salt. So I don't use that all the time. I'm pretty used to a lower kind of sodium diet in general, but it's nice to sprinkle on some stuff. And I think that, just to cap off what I'm saying here, just so people get the understanding, is that there is a difference between sodium found in rock salt or in sea salt or in those sources compared to sodium that is in plants. Like when we're talking about sodium, we are recommending to get our sodium from plant foods, and really what it requires is eating enough greens and or higher sodium foods, and this form of sodium is bound by carbon, which our body really more easily absorbs and is much more healthful than the sodium chloride that is not bound by carbon, that's found in sea salt and rock salt in organic form. So I just wanted to add that real quickly.
Yeah. What about dulse? Do you use dulse?
Yeah, actually, true. Yeah. I didn't even think of that. I do use dulse on occasion, and it's funny because I think for the first 10 years on a raw food diet, I really didn't use any of that stuff at all. Like I didn't use any grass powders. I didn't use dulse, seaweeds, because I took kind of a hygienic view of like seaweeds aren't, terrestrial foods. We don't really need them. And since then, my research and just experimenting with different things, I've come to really enjoy them and use them on occasion. And I think they can be a valuable addition to the diet, not only for sodium, but also for different trace minerals and for iodine and different stuff like that.
Did you hear this? I think Don Bennett was saying that the iodine from seaweed, when it dries, that it's just all goes away out of the seaweed. It sounds very iffy for me, but
I think the challenging thing is when people take a black and white approach and really focus on the exception rather than the norm. Like I know that Don's great. He has tons of good information, but he said he had symptoms of low iodine from thyroid issues, I believe, and he tried to correct them with seaweed and didn't have success. And from that, his research led him to feel that there's no iodine in seaweed and you can't get enough from it. Myself, I like to look at the largest scientific consensus, and there are double-blind placebo trials of people with thyroid issues who found that they were able to reverse, thyroid issues and improve their iodine status from good quality seaweed. For sure, fresh is best. But even from dry seaweed, I mean, it's funny, in most trials, in most studies, they don't use even fresh fruit. They use dried powdered extracts, and it's the same with the seaweeds. So, I mean, I've got blood work for a long, long time, and my TSH has always been good. My thyroid function's been really good, and so I again, I just kind of like to go with the largest consensus rather than the outliers, and to go for good quality stuff, and there are certain amounts, like it's interesting because overdoing it, getting too much iodine actually can cause the same symptoms as not enough.
Exactly.
So sometimes people can overdo it and then find a time where they need to rebalance. But it's important to know when you're overdoing it, and not to just go all in with seaweeds and eat tons. It's very small amounts,
Yes. People ask. Someone was asking, do you feel the difference between Nori? Taste the difference between Nori and dals? Definitely. There's
huge,
huge difference. I love Nori.
Yeah.
I just love it. It's lower in sodium, and it's just such a mild flavor. And I just try to always soak it. I don't like to wrap it dry like some people wrap it dry. I make it, make sure that it soaks in at least juice, or even just soak it in water and put it in a salad, because otherwise I feel pretty dry if I put it dry. If I use it dry.
Yeah, I think my favorite is probably Nori too. I love, and I went years and years without Nori because my research led me to feel one, there is reason for concern around the possible pollutants and contamination of seaweed, because they are natural binders. They bind heavy metals and pesticides and a bunch of things. That's their role in the ocean to some degree. So that's led me to seek out really high quality stuff. And even Nori is, in many conditions can be questionably vegan because they can just scoop it up from the sea and grind it up. But more recently, I've been getting from rawnori.com, and they're certified organic and tested, and also seaveg.org or seaveg.com. They're like a really high quality seaweed company. But it's awesome too, because like Nori, for example, in most conditions, like 3 sheets or so every couple of days is loads enough, to get enough iodine. Dulse, it's like a table or less. What is it, like a quarter teaspoon or something? It's a small amount, and then kelp is even less. It's like a pinch, like a few times a week.
Kelp is almost too high in iodine, it feels like. But maybe it's microscopic amount.
You really don't need much of that. And watermelon and lime, so good. I love that combination. As with anything, I'd definitely recommend, talking to your doctor when you're talking about supplementing or anything like that. I don't really recommend supplementing iodine unless you really know what you're doing and you have help. But for most people, if a little bit of seaweed can help with that, and good to get levels checked to see where you're at. So if you already know you have issues, then blood tests and talking to your doctor and adding some might be helpful.
Yes, Alexandra is asking here about, hi Alexandra, my friend, about Nori. Yes, it has iodine. It has enough iodine. Like Chris said, like 3 or 4 sheets every other day or something like that. Like 2 sheets a day, maybe.
I love to, like, what I do. I mean, I've went through times without any at all, and I mean, it's important to note too, there are other foods that have iodine in them. One that a lot of people don't talk about, and I know Don doesn't mention because he doesn't think they're human foods, but is mushrooms. I really do like mushrooms, and they're rich in iodine and selenium, and at least the higher propensity compared to a lot of other foods. I think they're delicious. And even like tomatoes, if they're grown on iodine rich soil, which obviously you can't guarantee that, but if you're looking for the best quality stuff and maybe even growing some of your own, you know, then it can be in there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
Also,
like.
sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's okay. I guess the last thing I was gonna say is I like to just like actually wrap my salads in nori sometimes. So like I make a salad or a curry, and then I just take a full sheet of nori and I just wrap it up and then let it sit just for a minute so it starts to kind of get the moisture in there, and then
Yeah.
boom, it's like a burrito.
Yes, yes. Also, people often say they don't like mushrooms. They
Mm,
hate mushrooms. And then I ask them how they eat them. They just eat them fresh.
yeah, yeah,
Some people are okay with it, but I feel the flavor is too strong.
yeah,
I like to dehydrate them or marinate them. How
yeah.
about you?
I like both. I mean, I like them in all stages, and like I will occasionally just eat raw mushrooms as is. But my favorite is to just cut them up or slice them and then put them in the dehydrator just for like 1 hour. And
Yes.
otherwise, another way that I like to do that too is especially in the summer when it's nice out is just to slice them and put them in the sun, like full sun for 4, 5, 6 hours, which is also, I think I kind of mentioned it, but it is also a really cool tip to vastly increase the vitamin D
Yes.
in there. It's crazy. Like, you know, if you cut up mushrooms and you put it in the sun for 2 days, which is it's 2 days, but it partially dehydrates them. It can even completely dehydrate them. The vitamin D content can go up so much that it's like a powerful vitamin D supplement, just a small handful. So they're pretty
Yes,
cool.
so beautiful. I remember you doing that here.
Yeah.
Before the cruise, we were dehydrating on the roof,
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
chimney. That
Boosting
was
up those
fun.
little mushrooms. It's a cool thing, and it's one of those things too that I think not a lot of people know, but is going to become more known as it is a vegan way to supplement vitamin D and just to get, you know, an uncommon nutrient in plant foods really easily accessible.
Yes. So yeah, some specialists say there's no D vitamin in plant foods, but there is. Although
Yeah,
mushrooms, I know it's like botanically, it's a separate kingdom,
yeah, yeah,
but still, it's a to me, it's like a plant-based.
yeah. I think
So
most
yeah.
people agree with that. I mean, I like to invite the fun guy to the party, you know, but it's all up to you if you want the fun guy in your life, you know.
Yeah, fungi is so important for the planet. Yeah.
Yeah, some people say it's from space, you know. I mean, uh, the you know the spores came from space. Pretty wild stories with fungi. There's a full documentary on it on Netflix, which is really
Oh,
cool.
how, what's the name of the documentary?
I believe I know fungi is in the
Okay.
title, but
Okay, we'll have to look for it.
thanks,
Let's
Ian.
see.
Yeah, she's
Right.
asking, is there much vitamin D
Uh-huh.
in mushrooms though? You know, the amounts vary depending upon the variety of mushrooms, and when you just grab them from the grocery store, you know, they're generally grown in dark areas, so the vitamin D in them in that way is pretty low, pretty negligible. It's a little higher in shiitake and portobello crimini, you know, but the amounts that you would normally eat, you're not going to fulfill your vitamin D needs, and of course, sunshine is the number one way to get your vitamin D needs met. But for example, like if I remember correctly, and you might want to double check it, but like about a handful, like for me, it'd be about like 8 crimini mushrooms would probably only supply like an eighth of my vitamin D status just as is. But if I put them in the sun, even for a few hours, then that same handful could actually meet my vitamin D needs. Um, the one caveat there is that vitamin D from the sun produces calciferol, vitamin D3 in the skin, and provides vitamin D3, which has a longer staying power. You actually, like, you know, that's why people can get enough sun during the summer and not show deficiency for months after, because it stays in the system a lot longer. Whereas vitamin D2, which is found in mushrooms, you require larger amounts more often, like multiple times a week to stay, because it actually, the body utilizes it faster or it doesn't stay in the body as long. Um, so that's just an interesting thing. And I mean, for myself, I actually, you know, I usually eat mushrooms at least 2 or 3 times a week, even in the winter. I really love them. And, you know, if you can't get the sunshine, you can just put them under a UVB light. You know, it's like a reptile light or a grow light, and that can charge them up as well. But it's wild. Some varieties, like uh, the shiitake especially, like a small handful can have like many times above the requirement, And from whole food sources, you can't overdose on vitamin D, so there's no worry about that. It's really just from supplemental forms of vitamin D. You can actually overdo it because it's a fat soluble vitamin. But yeah, fantastic fungi from Christiane. Hey, thank you so much,
Yes,
Christiane.
yes, thank you.
Speaking
And
of that, Christiane has an amazing raw sushi course in the bundle as well. And
yeah.
I know she uses some mushrooms in there, and it's got all of her tips and tricks and techniques and delicious raw sushis in there, which utilize the seaweed like we talked about as well. So that kind of ties everything together.
Yes. Yeah. And
Oh, yeah.
watermelon lime asks, vitamin D, will it stay in the mushrooms when they dried? Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. It actually stays for well over a year, especially if they're kept in good like airtight, moisture free. So what some people do is they'll chop up the mushrooms. It's important they produce more if you put them gill side up, or if you slice them and have more surface area. But if you slice them up and you put them in the sun for 2 days, then often they'll actually fully dehydrate. And if they're still a little bit mushy, still water content, put them in the dehydrator, and that will fully dry them. And that's how you keep them the best.
Mhm.
And then you can either put them in airtight jars, or you can put them in Ziploc bags in the freezer, and yeah, they'll keep like up to a year. So you can do that in the summer months, and then have them in your freezer and have a really, really inexpensive natural vitamin D supplement all winter long, and just throw a handful in a couple times a week.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's like mushrooms sun tanning, just like us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they totally are. Yeah, they totally are. Yeah. Thanks for the questions, guys. That's lots of fun. That's
Yeah.
lots of fun.
I can hear that Lily's waking up there with Jesse.
Oh.
Uh,
Well, thank you so much for sharing this time with us, and going into a lot of the awesome stuff that's in you guys' course. And I'm going to be talking with Jesse and going a little bit deeper and going down some other avenues with him upcoming here later in the week. But I really encourage everyone to go over to Happy Raw Reny's page, show her some love and support, and grab the bundle through her link in her profile. And is there anything you want to leave us with, or anything else you want to cover before we go
I'm
to?
very excited. On the 6th, we have a talk with you on my channel.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm so excited about this topic because so many people are asking about it. How to make your raw vegan dinner satisfying, because so many people are just like, okay, I'm okay with breakfast, I'm okay with lunch, but dinner, I just can't. I have to eat something cooked. I can't get satisfied with raw food. So this is such an exciting topic, I think, for many people.
I'm excited to share about it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun too, and it's not just add mushrooms, so we'll have more stuff to it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Reny. Really appreciate you and everyone who's been here with us today. I hope you guys all have an awesome day or evening or sleep if you're in PST time zone. And that if you haven't already, you check out the Ultimate Raw Vegan Bundle and check out the live schedule in the top right. So when you actually click the link to go to the bundle, even if you don't think the bundle's for you, click the link anyway and go and click the live schedule in the top right of the website, because it lists and provides links to all of the amazing lives from all of the different presenters and chefs in the Raw Vegan Bundle, sharing on many different topics, food demos, interviews, a whole bunch more. So you can get a ton of free info and support in this raw vegan lifestyle, because we just want to spread it to you guys. So thanks again.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that many people might think, oh, I already have tons of recipe books, and I'm still like struggling with raw food and it doesn't seem to help. I can't stick with it. Well, this bundle answers this question basically. Absolutely. Because here in this bundle, we're focusing on solving these challenges that people have. Because you might collect as many recipes as you want, and if you don't go into these details and fine tune your lifestyle, that it's not going to work. But if you have this challenge, this bundle is definitely for you. That solves this issue.
Absolutely.
So just check it out and see if any of these books or programs will resonate with you and your challenges.
Yeah. And, as they say, like knowledge is power, but applied knowledge is wisdom. And the bundle is about more than just giving you more knowledge. It's about giving you the tools to apply to your life to create that wisdom and that self-sufficiency, right? Because that's what we all want. We want everyone thriving and enjoying rather than surviving and having a hard time.
Yes, yes.
Well, much love from Sweden. Give my love to Lily and to Jesse, and I hope you have an awesome day, Reny. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was so fun. I hope you'll have this recording.
Absolutely. I'm also going to invite you as a collaborator so that it can be on your page too, if you're all right with that.
Wow, yeah, that's fantastic. I would love, because we discussed so many interesting things, I think.
I think people will enjoy and benefit. And thanks for all the hearts and the loves, guys, and for all the awesome questions. Good to see a bunch of you that I haven't talked to in a while. And as always, wishing you much peace, love, and seasonal fruit. Talk to you soon.
Lots of love. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Raw Vegan Solutions with Happy Raw Ready. Be sure to check it out.
Ooh, don't forget to check out my raw recipes playlist in the top left, the video just for you in the top right, subscribe for more videos in the bottom right, and get your 3 free ebooks in the bottom left. Grab your free raw recipe app, available on iPhone and Android, with over 100 free raw recipes, common fruit and vegetable calorie breakdown, frickin' raw, some food combining chart, shopping cart function, and so much more.